Yes, is this the Tuesday morning brew? Where's Laurie? I don't know where Laurie is, but she had a very important family function to attend to this morning. So she asked me if I could fill in for her. I am Dash. You guys know me probably from a few things on the madness, but I'm here to fill in. It is an honor to fill in for Miss Laurie Calcaterra. We got a really great guest on today. AJ Reimann will be coming on here in just a minute. But I just want to make sure that we talk about a few things before we get started. Remember to check out issue 8 of the campaign on Kickstarter coming up. So that'll be Path of the Pale Rider. She's got that, issues 1 through 8, as well as she's got the, I'll add this to the link as well as soon as I can find it. She also has the trade coming out from 5 through 8, I believe it is. That's the same one. And should be having that as well. So again, I'm Dash. You probably know me from a few of the video game shows and the RPG. I'm on with Ed as we do first impressions every Wednesday night. Dash of reading on Sundays. But just another thing that I want to talk about before we get AJ out here is be looking for a collaborative. That's right, a collaborative short story collection. Laurie, George Medina, we've got Chris Brown, Ed Davis, and myself, plus another author, Nate, will be joining us. We're going to be doing a nice little short story collection called Fade to Black. And it's all about cinematic thrillers, if you will. But at the end of the short story, it fades to black, just like I talked about. And it is left up to the reader to decide what happens when it fades to black. Do they carry out what they were going to do, or do they not? So that's up to the reader. You'll be seeing more of that posted as we go on. But I appreciate everybody this morning. Hope you got your Superman cups, your brew, and I'm gonna bring on AJ, and we're gonna get started. I was talking to him a little bit backstage to get to know him, but I feel like we got a lot in common as we get ready to dive into this. And welcome, Mr. AJ, to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. Glad to be here. Even though Laurie, dumped us today.
Yeah, Laurie dumped us, so we're. I feel like we're the Joan Rivers and the Ed McMahon of the show today. So
there you go.
No Johnny Carson, but we got a little bit of the other stuff going on. So so dashing. Thank you, Jared. I am so dashing. Yeah, this is going to be a dashing show. So AJ and I were talking a little bit backstage, and I want to get to know you. We got to know a little bit back, but give us the backstory for some of the viewers that might not have seen some of the shows that you've been on the Madness.
Oh, wow. The backstory. Well, I was born in Florida, grew up in upstate New York for a little while, home of good pizza. Then, got ripped away at 10 years old to move to North Carolina, of all places. No idea why we stopped in North Carolina and didn't go back to Florida. I learned many years later the real reason why. I think my dad was running from alimony or something. But it's the weird things you find out when you become an adult and talk to your parents. So then we lived in North Carolina for many years, and I had kids at a really stupid young age. At 19, I had a kid, and went to work and got to put all the fun stuff away, because I was 19 with a kid and couldn't do anything fun. Then she grew up, and I could do a little bit more fun stuff as she was growing up, and we got into comics a little bit. And just like recently, I used to be a machinist. That was my day job, back in the day. And I was working for a company, making good money, and then the business closed. It was just no warning, just closed.
Right.
So I decided during that time off that I would start my own business, and started a little game store, hobby shop, like board games, card games. And I had a comic spinner rack, but never really got into it wasn't a comic shop by any means, right?
Right.
But that was kind of fun. And then she liked that stuff. My oldest daughter, but she was like not into it as much. She got into golf, so I kind of switched gears and went into golf for many years to help her through high school. And then I started working for this golf academy company for a while, and worked there for 10 years until about 2 weeks ago. Again, I was foreclosed. So second time in my life I've gone through the business closure kind of aspect.
Totally did.
I'm like, man, I started this podcast with my youngest daughter. She got into comics. I can give you that whole backstory in a few minutes, I guess. But wrapping up me, I guess it was now that I'm going through this yet again, the second time in my life, I'm like, man, I'm gonna really make a go at this, going on my own again. So we're gonna go doubling down on the podcast and the content creation and helping other people do it. And I've got some other friends that want to do it, and they'll keep, let me make my car payment at least.
No, I get. Yeah, I mean, I know. I mean, because I retired. I mean, I was Air Force for 23 years. I retired. I wanted to do something, but I didn't even know what. So I went off and did personal training and personal training, things like that. And then, but all through the military, I was writing and doing stuff like that. And then, pandemic hit, and I was working at a bookstore, and of course the pandemic kind of took us out of the business model. And so I wanted to so I just started writing. So I kind of know where you're going. So I that's what I've been doing. I'm writing. I'm a stay-at-home dad, take care of the girls,
Love that.
Homeschool, and do all that. So yeah, I know. I kind of, right there with you on what kind of career do I want now that I'm retired? And
I'm trying to figure out the retirement aspect of this whole thing too. So, because number one, like my most important thing right now is my mom, like my parents, my stepdad and my mom, like they're getting up there. They've got appointments all the time. And when I was working, I had it was work from home. So it allowed me to take my mom to the doctor or my stepdad to the doctor's appointment or physical therapy or whatever. And so that's more importantly, I don't have time to go look for a job. Right. No, last week we're sitting there, like taking her to an appointment, and she gets back in the car and she's like, okay, I have this date, this date, this date. We got appointments coming up in June. And I'm like, she's like, see, you don't need a job. And I'm like, well, I'm gonna remember that when I need to make a car payment. I keep referencing the car payment because it's the only bill I have really. So it's my car payment. And means keep working, doesn't it?
Yes, exactly, Jared. Exactly.
So it's funny, like, because I'm like, man, I just gotta. How did I have time to work? Right? Right. So now we get to, I get to help my mom, and that's number one. So,
yeah. I wish I had been able to spend more time with my mom. She passed while I was deployed in Iraq. So, but I totally get but kind of bringing up what Jared said. I feel like, I don't know about you, I feel like I work more now. Like he said, I have. Like I'm even more structured now than I am in the military.
Oh wow!
So I have my set where I'm writing, where I'm doing school for the girls, where I'm doing this, where I'm doing this. Do you feel the same way? Like do you feel more structured with this than you do?
Somewhat. I mean, it's still fresh.
Right.
It's still, we've been podcasting and doing the whole comic thing for just about a year and almost 14, 15 months. About March of last year, we started that. But it's only been like a week and a half since I've been in this new kind of lifestyle, but it definitely is more structured in, okay, I'm going to get up early. I'm going to do my, my reel today. I'm going to get all that stuff done, and then mom will come in and be like, all right, I need, we got to go to this or that. And I'm like, all right, no problem. But it's freed me up to be able to do that or go pick up the kid from school or, stuff like that, which has been awesome.
Yeah, man, I like being my own. I don't know. I like being my own boss in a way. Not that I ever had any problems with other people, being my boss. But again, like you said, I'm freed up to. All right, I can wake up this time. I can do my reels. I schedule my posts for social media,
Yep.
and then I get the girls breakfast, and then we go to school. Then I do some more work on this. So I think I like that better. Not that if a job came up open and then I needed it, I wouldn't take it. But
Right.
you know what I'm.
How old are your girls?
My girls are 7 and 8. Or 7 and 8.
You told me that. Yeah. All right. Yeah. It's having the time. So that was what I was able to give my oldest daughter, was a lot of time. Right. Didn't have a lot of money. You know, she was spoiled, you know, but my mom spoiled her. She had the money. Right. I didn't have the money, but I had the time. And I spent so much time with my oldest daughter. And that's what I'm trying to give to my youngest daughter too, is, you know, working from home helps, you know, but this will free me up to even spend even more time with her. And like, we're bonding so much over the podcast and, you know, just going through that whole thing. It's like, that's what she's picked and that's what the direction we're going. And just like my oldest daughter, she picked golf. That's the direction I went for 10 years. I'm in comics for as long as she wants me to be there, right? Or even for myself. But now that I created a comic, that's even weirder. But that I'm a math guy. I'm not a writer. Well, I am a writer now. They tell me to shut up and not.
You are a writer. Once you put ink to paper, you're a writer.
Exactly. But it allows me to give time to my kids. It allows me to give time to my mom. And you know, I'm very fortunate, you know, because I lost my father when I was 15, right? So I've always had that connection of, you know, I want to spend as much time as I can with my kids, right? And you know, I may not be able to give them or buy them everything, even though they're pretty damn spoiled, but they get whatever they want. But you know, they get a lot of my time. So
yeah, and it's partly why I think because I do have an older daughter who's 20, will be 26 this year. So I was deployed. I was deployed a lot of her life. And I think she's not mad at me. She's anything like that, but you know, she totally understands. But, appreciate that. Been working out, Chad. And
that's great.
But yeah, this she's not mad at me, but she understood. But I don't want my daughters to feel like I'm never at home again. I don't want to be
right.
So this works out for us. Just like you're it's time. It's time that you get to be with them. And you know, my mom was a school teacher for 40 plus years, so I kind of know how to teach a little bit. Now, when it gets into higher, I might call you for the math. If you're a math guy,
sure.
I might call you for the algebra and going on from there. But yeah, I like that. I like that you have something with your daughters that you bond. We bond over, you know, I mean, we bond over old cartoons from the 80s, 70s, and 80s cartoons.
Yeah.
My daughter, they love G.I. Joe. They love Transformers. They're sitting there watching them with me. They know all the characters. So I love that we get to have that bonding like you guys do, and that's fantastic. Hey, Pops,
watching them come out of their shell, and that was something, you know, it took a while. Like Annika, my daughter, the youngest daughter, she was so reserved, introverted, didn't want people. But I was reminded yesterday. So yesterday was her her elementary school graduations, 5th grade graduation.
Right.
She's at a charter school, so she goes like it's all one school, K through 12.
Right.
But we're sitting there at this graduation in the gym yesterday, and the superintendent, whatever you want to call her, she gets up there and gives a little speech, and she reminded me, or everybody there, that my daughter's class, this 5th grade class, their kindergarten year was COVID year.
Yeah.
So their first day of school was trying to figure out how to log on to a thing with a bunch of squares on a computer screen with all these little faces that they are classmates with that they've never met. And they had to overcome that, you know, a year of COVID. And then when they finally got to go to school to meet their friends or meet these kids that they're in class with for a year already and never met, they couldn't even like see each other because they were having to mask up. They were having to stay 6 feet apart. They couldn't be kids. And it's like, wow, this is crazy. And it's like they've really developed that much stronger of a bond with each other now because of what they've had to go through. And that's a lot why she was so introverted and shy and stuff, right? Because going through that, I mean, as a 5, 6, 7-year-old,
crazy.
That is insane, right?
Crazy.
And then now they're being able to come out of their shells, and everybody I've talked to that knows my daughter that's now watching the show and seeing her grow on the show is just amazed at how well she's doing. And I mean, I'm still hold her back a lot in reserve, as you can imagine, being a dad. Like it's weird putting your kids out there, right? Like
absolutely.
But I try to rein that in and control and protect that, I guess the word, as much as possible. But she's she's still weirded out by the attention when we go to a convention and people are like, "Oh, hey guys, we know you watch your stuff." I'm like, "Whoa, that's weird." I even think it's weird, but for her, she's like, "That's really weird."
Really weird, yeah.
But she is getting used to it, and she's starting to really love it. And she loves to cosplay and go to these conventions and cosplay, and she's into writing and art, and I just love the way she's coming out of her shell too.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think it shapes us. So we can either, this is what I told my daughters, we can either stay locked in our shells, because the girls did the same thing. They like to draw, they like to play piano, they like to do stuff. So I totally get the cosplay. That's fantastic. I mean, that right there is a testament of how you can come out of your shell anyways. And even if you are, I know a lot of introverts that cosplay, because the cosplay allows them to be somebody else for a moment. And I think that helps. And it doesn't matter if you're an introvert in that way. I just think that's awesome, because I have a really good friend that's kind of like that. Carrie, she's an introvert, but boy, you get her into a con and a cosplay, I'm like, I don't even know you.
Right. It's so cool to see her do that. And like the first time she did it, I was like shocked, because we were at a convention, her and I was walking around, trying to meet people, to have on the podcast, just get our name out there a little bit. And she's like, "Hey, they have a cosplay contest." And she was dressed up already, right? She just wanted to dress up to go. She's like, "Can I do it?" I'm like, "Well, go figure it out. If you want to do it, go, figure it out, And she's ran away, came back a few minutes later. She's like, "All right, we got to be here at this time, at this place." And I'm like, "Okay, cool. You figured it out." Like, I wasn't having to do anything to do it, right? To figure it out. And she did, and she got up there, and we did the whole thing, and then she ended up getting like judge's choice, like 4th place, right? And I was like, "That's really cool." She got like a plaque, and then she was hooked. Now, like, she's got a couple 3rd places, and she won a junior one on Free Comic Book Day, 2 weekends ago. So that was really cool.
It's kind of like golf. I don't know about you, but it's kind of like golf, where I can get mad for 97 shots that I have, but I have that one shot that was clean, pure, 250, 300-yard drive, and I'm like, I'm staying in golf.
So. Yep, it's that one great shot. So I can go into that if you want, the whole how this all came to be. So in that, working for this golf company for the last 10 years, I was an operations manager. So I was managing golf academies. We had academies at different locations, and I would do all their back end billing and support and stuff like that. And but that's something we did was, the one great shot, it's that one shot that brings you back to come play the next week or whatever, right? So we lived on that thing. But they actually wanted to start a podcast about 1.5 years ago, and they came to me and were like, "Hey, we want to do this. Figure it out." I never podcasted. I would have called, like, 2 years ago, if you told me I was going to be on somebody else's podcast, like, that's crazy. Like, I did not want to be on camera. I hated my voice. Like, I didn't want nothing to do with this kind of stuff. And I was like, they're like, "Well, we need to start this podcast. Figure it out." I'm like, "Okay, I'll figure it out." So I've got all the stuff, and we've started this podcast, and it's a golf podcast on long-term golf development, and it may or may not live. I don't know anymore. I'm trying to still keep it going, but now that my division's gone, I no longer work for the company. I'm not sure it's going to survive, but we'll see. But it was like a couple months into that, I was getting so stressed because it was so corporate.
Right.
And so many layers of approval to get a reel out there, or an episode out there. And I was like, I learned by doing, right?
Yeah.
I want to do something to figure it out, to learn it. And Annika come in my office one day and she's like, I want to be on your podcast. I'm like, yeah, that's never going to happen. You're 10 years old. This is long-term golf. We're talking to these, crazy, doctors and whatever that are on, have all these systems and whatever for golf. And I'm like, yeah, it's not going to happen. Sorry.
Right.
And she's like, well, let's do something. I'm like, well, what do you want to do? Like, I'll try something. What do you want to do? She's like, let's do comics. Because she had just gotten into comic books like 3 months before. She hated reading. And I'm bouncing around just a little bit. Sorry.
They're good.
Our birthdays are 2 days apart in December, 19th and 21st. So I always took those days and we would just go do fun stuff, her and I.
Right.
And we ended up, two birthdays ago in a comic shop, game store, right? And she saw a comic book and she's like, what is this? It's like, it's a comic, it's just a little short story, pictures, words. She's like, can I get one? I'm like, get a couple of them, pick whatever you want. And so she picked up like couple Harley Quinn comic books. And I was like, okay, whatever. So I took her home, or it's like, this store is open late and we were driving back from the mountains. So it was like a 3-hour drive. But we still have like an hour left, and it's like 11 o'clock at night, and she's got the light on in the back, and she's reading these comics in the back seat of the car. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. And the next day, she's like, Dad, those are really cool. Can we go get some more? I'm like, heck yeah, let's go get some more. So we go to another comic shop, like on my birthday, like 2 days later. And I buy her like a stack of like 25 of them, And she fell in love with them. So when she came in my room 2 months later and was like, I want to be on your podcast, or let's do something. I'm like, what do you want to do? She's like, let's do comic books. I'm like, okay, let's do it. So I set up a table and threw up an iPad and said, all right, let's do it. What do you want to talk about? We're doing a comic podcast. Don't know what it's called. Don't know anything. So our first episode is just us sitting at a card table in this room with a blank wall behind us. And we just started doing it and never stopped. And here we are, like almost a year and a half later, and we're 113 episodes out.
That's fantastic.
And I'm interviewing all these people. We wrote a comic, and like they inspired me to write a comic. And then now I'm on other people's podcast. I'm like, okay, this is crazy, but I'm loving it.
See, that is fantastic. And I'll probably pick your brain a little bit more on setting up. And like I said, we talked a little bit backstage where my daughters kind of want to talk, because they watch, they have this one they watch on their mom gives them a pad where they can watch certain things, and it's called Elsie and Ani and Toy Time or something. So they're really into that. So like they move the dolls around.
Yeah.
So I want to do something with them in that aspect that gives kind of to incorporate it with school, where we're learning, but still have fun, and it'll be on the fun side. But I see, we watch like Art Hub for Kids. That's a guy with, a gentleman with his kids drawing art, and you're doing it with comics. Let me ask you this question on it, since we're right here. But does it feel weird? I mean, because she is so young, how do you work around where it doesn't feel weird and over pressured for her? Do you know what I'm saying? Like where I don't want them to feel like it's a job and they have to.
Right. So I've been not struggling, but I have put a lot of like thought into that, like trying to figure out, because like I'm worried about, like, okay, let's say 3 years from now, she's 14. She's like, Dad, I don't want to do this crap anymore. What am I going to do? Right. Because now we're like 4 years in, and it's like, this is something, right, that we've got to continue. So I'm trying to figure that out personally. It's like, how do I not make this a job? So I do the best I can with, we have a set time that we record every week, but so I pick her up from school on Thursdays and we drive straight to the comic shop and we pick up our weekly comics. We have a pull box at our store, and we pick up some comics every week, and we come home, and our show is pretty relaxed. We have it's a good structure. It's only usually 30 to 40 minutes. But we just go over our weekly polls, and then, we talk, we try to talk a little bit about whatever we did this week. games we played or movies we watched or comics we read, or if we went to a show, we'll recap, or she likes talking about her cosplay stuff, right? So that's been that's been a cool thing. Last week was really sad because she had a cat that passed away. The whole half the episode was her talking about her cat, which drove me crazy. But I was like, you gotta let her do it.
You gotta let it. That's the grieving process right there.
That's part of the process. You gotta thank God it was on Thursday and not Friday, because Wednesday and Friday she had end of grade tests. So the cat passed away Thursday morning, so she missed school, and it was a rough time. But so that's what last week's episode was about.
Right.
And then we get to play the fun little this or that game. She loves doing those. She makes up all these. It's like, whose line is it anyway?
Yeah.
She makes up all these points and none of it makes sense or matters. but I never can win the game, so that's whatever.
Yeah,
that's
par
fair.
for the course, yeah.
As dads should, right? Lose all the games. Sometimes if I win, man, she gets mad.
Oh yeah.
So I try to keep that very light, because I realized early on I was taking it a lot more serious than she was the first few episodes. And I was holding her way back the first few episodes. She wanted to get on there, cut up in front of the camera, and that's a good thing. I should have let her do it, right? And I do let her now. For the most part, I hold her back a little bit. If she gets way out there, I'm like, I'll hit pause, be like, all right,
reel
it
back in.
Yeah, we got to get through this, before midnight. Edit. I tell her, my trick is I tell her, think of the editing time I have, right? Make it as easy as possible on me, because there's sometimes I'm like, cut. But she gets to sit there, and I was holding her way back, and I was like, man, I wanted to take it so much more serious and make a real go at doing the podcast, because I was really learning and loving what we were doing. And it was 8 episodes in, and I get this email. You guys, I know Laurie knows him, Jeff Haas. Do you know Jeff?
I know of him. I'm not very familiar with him, but I know of him, yeah.
So I get a random email from Jeff. Never met the guy, never heard of the guy, no idea who this guy was. That's par for the course. I don't know anybody, but especially 8 episodes in,
right?
And I get this email from Jeff. He's like, "Hey, I market these people. They want to do podcasts. Would you have this person on?" And I was like, okay, I'll try that. I guess I've never interviewed anybody, so I'll try it.
Yeah,
I was so nervous, man, going into that episode. And it was with Chris Saloff from Brew Comics.
Yeah,
that was the first guy I interviewed. And I went into it, I did it, and I held him after. I was like, Chris, I want to talk to you for a few minutes after the episode. He's like, sure, no problem. So after the episode, I was like, hey, man, I just want some feedback. Be honest with me. How did it go? How'd you feel? You've done hundreds of these. He's like, dude, this was great. I loved it. You did awesome. I was like, really? You're not just saying that? He's like, no, you did great. I'm like, okay. So it was that gave me the out, I guess, or the reason to keep going, because I could do those interviews on a much more serious and level, where I could let Annika loose more on her show, on our show, her and I show, because I do 2 episodes a week, right? So I do one with her, and then I do release an interview a week. So it allowed me to let her go a little bit, so I didn't have to try to restrain her and make it not fun for her.
Yeah.
Same thing when we go to conventions. I try to have somebody else, like my wife will come, or somebody will come with us that, she knows, where she's not glued to that table for 8 straight hours.
8 hours, yeah.
I don't want her to be stuck at that table if she don't want to be. So she can come and go from the table as she wants. Now, I might get to the point, as we get a little bigger or whatever, I might make a time slot. Okay, you have to be here 2 to 3 or 1 to 4, or so whatever. Make a time slot. Okay, you have to be here then. The rest of the day, you can come and go as you please, right? And so that's what I'm trying to do as well, is just so she don't feel like it's a job.
Yeah.
Right.
That makes total sense. Yeah.
That way she can go to the cosplay contest, right? Or she can go sign up, or she can go shop around, 'cause we don't make money at these things. We don't even cover our table.
Yeah, right. Hardly. Yeah.
But that's where the comic book came from. Where is Laurie? Yeah, we're looking forward to.
We're looking forward to.
No.
She has a family appointment this morning, Matthew. So I was asked to fill in, and what an honor it is to actually be here with AJ because I am learning a ton of stuff today. Yeah, I went to my. I didn't partake in it. I had never been to a con period, and Laurie and George Medina were down in Texhoma this year.
Yeah.
So very close to me. So I got to drive down there and see them. And yeah, you guys have fun. I got to work the table with her a little bit, but you guys have a lot of fun at those things. So I finally get to do my first. I get to do my first con in 2 weeks. It's a toy con. It's going to be in Moore Norman area. It's a toy convention, but I'm selling my books there. They were nice enough to let me hop in and sell my books. But so I got to listening to you guys. It's really cool to get some ideas of how to work the tables.
When is it?
It is the 30th
of May.
Of May.
I don't know. I probably can't pull that off. See, I'm going to Michigan next week for Cherry City Comic Con or something in Traverse City, Michigan next week. So that's where the printer is that printed my book. I have a friend that owns a print shop. Whole story there too. But so I'm going back there for their local convention up there next weekend. And I have like a few days extra that I could go somewhere. And I was trying to work in going to Oklahoma City, to see my family.
Yeah.
But I don't think I can pull it off that because it'd be 2 days to get there. So I'd get there like Tuesday, but then I'd have to leave Sunday, I believe. I'd have to leave Sunday the 31st. So I'd only have like 3 or 4 days there. And I usually like to go for at least a week or more.
Yeah.
Because I have to get back to help my mom some appointments and stuff. But
we have one in October, so once I get the date on that.
Yeah, let me know because I'm trying to get one that I can meet Laurie and all these people. That's been one of the coolest things. Yeah. I mean, I know this is going to be your first one, which is going to be a cool experience, or you just went to one that was your first one. They are amazing. They're so much fun. The most fun I've ever had, though, is now I'm meeting people that I've had on the show.
Yes.
And that's so cool. Like I got to meet Chris Saloff, my first interview ever. He was actually on the show a couple weeks ago again. But being able to meet those people in person, and then that's been one of the coolest things. And they all like my book too, so that's pretty cool too. So
there's nothing like it, right? There's nothing. You like you and I could sit here and talk all day long on a computer, and I'll know you, but I won't know you. So and that was really cool to get to actually meet Laurie and George. And you're just like, you guys
feel like you're long lost friends when you meet in person. It's like you've done so much meeting and see each other on reels and stuff, and now you're like, oh, you're in person. That's where Annika's getting like, whoa now. I don't know if I like that.
The celebrity status is a little
right.
So how do you deal with that? How do you deal with do you sit down and talk to her and be like,
yeah, we talk about it. We just like, hey, people are going to recognize you. And she's like, that's weird. I'm going to punch them in their face. I'm like, no, you can't punch them in their face.
Can't punch them in the face.
But then that's what she says, like when we're riding in the car. Right. But then when it actually happens, she feels a little weird, but then she'll actually talk to him. And, she's opened up so much, and it's really helped like her. Unfortunately, both of my kids, this has happened to, they've always been around more adults than other children their age, except when they were at school. Right. I'm sure you deal with this with your kids too.
Yeah, I deal with
being homeschooled, right?
Yeah.
So that was something for my older daughter. It took a while, like when she was like 18, 19, or 17, she was like, she fit way more into adult conversations with just adults sitting at a table than she did with these 18-year-olds at school.
I know it.
And so that's going to happen with her too. So I'm trying to like figure out how to make it better for her. I haven't figured that one out yet, but we do talk about it. And I do like, say, hey, if it gets too crazy, go, you don't have to be there, like stay there at that moment, but she also like, I'll just watch her. She'll sit there at the table and just start handing out, like, we give everybody that walks by, a little postcard, comic postcard. And then she wrote her own little comic. She wrote this little zine, right? And I gave her this one day. She saw one at a convention. She's like, "How do they make those?" So I went home and I showed her how to fold it and cut it, and handed her a blank. And she came back an hour and a half later with a fully completed zine. I'm like, okay, that's cool. So now we print it and she sells it, and she's talking to people, and she does a great job. Yeah. And she spends a lot more time at the table than you would think, which I find surprising. She'll spend some time going around shopping a couple times or going to the cosplay, but she has no problem so far staying at the table. So
that's pretty cool. Hey, Anthony, good to see you. It is the Hoop. Laurie is on. I'm gonna start saying she's on assignment. Like I feel like she's.
Oh, that's a good one.
She's on assignment in the field. Yeah. I mean, if we had all the answers, we wouldn't be. Our parenting job would be over. So I think that's cool though that you're. It's a work in progress, and I think that's kind of the scary part, but it's cool if that makes sense.
It is. And she even asked to be on some of the episodes with other people too.
Right.
Like we had Stephanie Phillips on.
Oh wow.
And she was like, I have to be on that episode, and I'm like, yeah, of course. So absolutely. I was really nervous. That was the first one she was on, or one of the first ones. So the second one, actually. She was on with, T.S. Luther. I'm sure you guys see him online. Yeah. We had him on, and I let her be on that one. And he was so cool, like with her. And she loved it. She was doing really good. We actually got to meet him in person when we went to Michigan to print our comic book. We actually got to stop and have lunch with him. So that was really cool.
See,
and then I should see him next week too, when we go to Michigan. But now she's been on with like Stephanie Phillips. She's been on with Stephanie Williams.
Nice.
She'll come on, occasionally here and there. But then I also have started people that we know or have met in person or that have been on the show before that we like Laurie or, even yourself at this point now that we've met. I've had so many people that want to be on the show, right? Like I'm booked out, like Laurie's booked out for 6 months. I'm booked out for 4 or 5 months, right? Yep. It's crazy to me that, I'm getting messages all the time, hey, you got it open? I'm like, dude, I'm booked till, September.
Yeah.
So what I started doing to kind of add a little bit more space for people to jump in is I've let them join that recording on Thursdays, because that's when Annika and I record our weekly episode. So I'll let them do like a 10-15 minute pop in, for somebody that's been on before, or if it's something like this Thursday, we have a guy that we actually table next to at Free Comic Book Day. So I was like, hey, you just come on, because if you wait, it'll be, November before you get on. It's like, so just hop on this week for 10-15 minutes, and then Annika gets to play this or that with them. And she's actually really enjoyed that. Now, sometimes she gets a little bored because I start running my mouth like this. And, so I'll look over so she sits, right in front of me on the other side of the room. And I look over and she's like, just sitting there. But she does a great job just sitting there, for 15 minutes. But she's been doing good with that. And it's allowed us to add more people to the show as well. Nice. Especially like Chris Saloff. We had to do that a couple weeks ago because he's got a Kickstarter, right? And these people wait till, their Kickstarter is almost launched or in the middle of it to actually have, reach out to be on your show.
We got a question for you.
What region are you in? I am in North Carolina. Southeast. So.
So does she get to, like my daughters like to sit and write for their little thing, that does she sit and write questions and like things
she'll
that she
wants to? Yep. Like I give her a script, like I'll, Google some questions and let her pick some that she wants to ask. But then sometimes, occasionally, Hall of Heroes in Northern New, that's cool. She'll sit there and she'll think of a question off the top of her spot, like ones that I was like, wait, I should have asked that question. Like, who's your favorite comic artist? Like asking Stephanie Phillips. And I'm like, dang, I didn't ask that question. Yeah, it's a drive to Michigan. It's 14 and a half hours, especially because we're going to the northern part of Michigan.
That's where my oldest, she lives in Atlanta. Well, lives in Atlanta, Michigan. I don't know if anybody knows where that is, but that's damn near the Mackinac Bridge.
Oh,
and
yeah. So that's
and
even further than
for
Traverse
so
City.
it's a 24-hour, no, pretty much a 24-hour drive from here to there for me to
Holy cow.
so and then Jared, yeah, this is just what Laurie looks like without her morning brew. Agreed. Agreed. And I'll take that as a compliment, Jared.
Right?
Um, uh, yeah, I see that's, and I think that helps build the creativity.
It does. Yeah. She's come out of her, not only come out of her shell, but like her reading has improved. Like this is the first year we haven't had the parent teacher conference on reading or worried about. She actually did worse in math this year for the first time ever, which is weird because she used to be a math person, but now she loves, it doesn't matter what they read. I don't know how you feel about your kids, but it's like, I don't care what you read, just read, right? If they've got, that's what we've been told. So I'm like, when she finally got, I'll buy her 100 comic books. My mom will buy her 100 comic books. It's like, if that's what you want to read, now she's reading manga and, all kinds of stuff.
Just keep moving up.
I mean, her pile's almost as big as my pile. So, and I don't care. Like, keep reading as much as you can. And it's improved her reading so much.
Oh yeah,
we didn't have that worry.
I know a lot of people tell, some of the when they're dealing with dyslexia and things like that, they tell them to start with comic books and or to reading instructors. That's what my wife and I started them on a little bit of the comic books to get them reading. They make some young adult or very young comic books. They like My Little Pony. They like all those.
Yep.
So I don't have as far as a limit goes. They're into Dogman, and my 8-year-old is getting ready to be 9. She's more into the Adventures in Babysitting and the young babysitter. So I let them read, but they also in turn read chapter books, and so they as long as they're reading. My wife and I are huge advocates of reading. Plus, I love I'm very vocal on children reading, so literacy, because we're starting to see a lot of issues with children literacy where they're only at some can't even read at a 3rd grade level. So that's something I'm taking on this year with some other friends of mine, where we're getting ready to do a show at the end of this month where we're discussing Wild Robot, but talking about children literacy and getting it back up, because I don't want to say social media has ruined it, but we live in the age where it's the TLDR age. Too long, didn't read. I just need a sentence.
Yep.
And I don't want that for them. So yeah, we keep them very much reading. And
I mean, I hate to admit it. I mean, I don't really care to admit it, but whatever. It doesn't matter. I hated reading. I'm a math guy. I hated reading as a kid. I hated reading as an adult. I can't tell you the last novel I wrote that I wasn't forced to read for work or whatever. Like, I hated it. But man, it has been so much fun getting back into comic books, and I read comic all the time. I read Thor every day. Like, I read one Thor a day. That's like before I go to bed, I sit there like a kid with my flashlight and I read, one, trying to read all the Thors, but it's going to take a few years, but that's fine.
That's nothing wrong with that. But see, that's good.
Right.
It doesn't matter what you read.
Yep.
Just read. It's because you're still getting the basic concept.
Right.
Whether it's a comic book or you're reading a prose novel, it's still the basic concept of reading. And again, nothing wrong with reading, because now I get the visuals too.
Yep.
But I just I don't care what you read, and I even tell my nephew, you got to read comic books, or you're I think it builds creativity. Even just reading, whether you read a prose comic or you're reading just a couple of op-eds out of a newspaper. Yes, Doc, I do need a shave. I haven't had enough coffee for my hair to fall off, and
I won't be shaving.
So that's cool.
Yeah, it's been great with the reading. It's just, I can't believe how much she actually likes to read now and
I love it.
and write now. She's writing, she's drawing. Like I keep telling her, I told her the other day, like you gotta just keep this up. I mean, you keep this up now with the writing and the drawing, like when you graduate high school in 7 years, like you could really take that somewhere. Just keep working at it and practicing it.
Yeah, and as long as, yes, it is very hard on the eyes, uh, pops, and we are very hard on the eyes. But you know, we're just kind of those acquired taste. You just have to
Right.
acquire us as a taste. Um, let me ask you this: um, do you feel like if she does it that way, it's again less of a job when she just gets
Yep.
to go, and maybe it's her hour or 2 hours of her time where she's just doing writing or drawing. I feel like if I let them do that instead of going, no, you have to draw, no, you have to write.
Right. Yeah, we've never forced her to write or draw. Never. She will disappear. So I moved my office to my mother's house about a year ago. And just to be close, because I spent my whole day with her anyway.
Right.
It's like I might as well just have my office over here so I can be here more to help them out. And my mom has a big like 30 by 30 craft room across the house. And she'll disappear in that room for hours just on her own. Because my mom does like scrapbooking and card making, but she has her own table in there, and all the scraps my mom wants to throw away, she throws in a big box. And she's so creative; she'll cut stuff up, make stuff. And I mean, even Mother's Day the other day, she came here and she disappeared in there and was making working on another zine. I'm like, okay, this is so cool. And I just let her do it when she wants to do it, and I don't really force that.
Good. Yeah.
I'll ask her, if she wants to do it or wants, hey, you should work on this when you get a chance, right? Or something. Yeah. Try this. Give her ideas.
Because I notice it like when I we obviously have things that we have to do in school. So we have to write. We have to do certain things. And I don't know what to write. But as soon as school's over and they're going out and doing their things, they come back. Oh, look what I wrote and look what I drew. I'm like,
right? Isn't that crazy? It like pulls your hair out. Yeah. My daughter, my oldest one, man, when she was little, she used to like struggle so hard with school, like especially 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, and she would spend hours on her homework, and take just hours to do anything with it. But then as soon as we were done, she'd go to her room and play school.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what?
What?
Like, why are you playing school? You just spent all day and all night, and now you want to play school? I never can wrap my head around that.
Yeah. So, but I don't say it, my wife's a teacher. So when she comes home, she's like, I'm glad you didn't say anything when you told them to write, and then they came back and you just let them do it. And the writing will come easier once they get further into school. And so I was like, yeah, you're right. I never argue with my wife on that. So you created a comic. I whenever I talk to people who write comic, because I'm a prose writer, I always tell them, this is the first thing I'm gonna tell you, I would much rather write prose than to write a comic book, because I feel like that you kind of have the way I look at it, it's the hierarchy. So you have your script writers for movies, your comic writers, and then prose writers, because I feel like prose is a little bit easier for me. Is it, because you got to get every, with a prose, I can sit there and go, oh, I can change this real quick. You're writing a comic. Now you and the artist have to be in tune with each other. So tell me a little bit about that process.
I had the best experience ever. And like, there's people out there will tell me how lucky I am. And I mean, I agree. TS is like, I'll tell him, oh, I got an artist. He's like, oh, lucky. It took me 28 tries to get an artist, right? And I've been very fortunate. And all my artwork started from fan art. It was funny. I had Mike Algier from Dork Arts Comics. He came on the show because he wrote his own comics. And we kind of hit it off, and we messaged back and forth. A lot of the people I interview, we've become friends. We send messages, all the time. And he sent me just a picture of our mascot. So our mascot's this comic word bubble, Panel Pete is what I call him. And I wanted a mascot for the podcast. It's just something I never had when I had my game store. I never had a mascot, and I wanted a mascot. So then I was like, when I got inspired to write the comic, I was like, oh, we'll write about the mascot. So I was writing and I was telling everybody that I was interviewing, looking for artists. If you know anybody, let me know. And one day, Mike just sent me this a piece of fan art that turned out to be like the A cover right there,
Right.
pretty close to the A cover. And I was like, dude, this is awesome. You should do a cover for my book. He's like, yeah, I'll do a cover. So he sent me that. And I was like, dude, you should just go ahead and do the interior too. And he's like, he thought about it for a day or so. And he's like, yeah, all right, I'm in. I'll do it. So yeah, I paid him to do it. Got a page a week. And it was amazing. And I wrote the script. So I was inspired by Stephanie Phillips. She puts out a lot of videos on, this is how I start writing a script. This is how I write an outline or whatever. And I was like, well, I can write an outline, So I wrote an outline one day. It's like, okay. And then I was on a plane. I went to Seattle and back. So it's like 6 hours each way almost. Right. And I was like, all right, that's the time. I'm going to, I've got nothing else to do. I'm sitting on the plane. I'm going to use that time to write the script. So I wrote it out, loosely. I would say I wrote a loose script. I didn't, I asked a couple people and they're like, oh no, like I write every word. It has to be that way. You can't change it. And I'm like, yeah, I wrote like time of day, location, and like this person says this person says something like this. It was very loose script. And I sent it to Mike and I was like, what do you think? And he's like, dude, this is awesome. Okay. So, and then I gave him no direction really on artwork. I let him do what he wanted to do. I wanted to see what he thought it looked like, right? Which I thought was cool. Then he'd send me a page, and I'm like, "Holy cow, this is so much cooler than I ever imagined." Right?
Let me answer that. Yeah, Carrie, a prose writer is just a novelist, or someone who writes short stories, novels, things like that, where you have I think more of your comic book writers and your obviously your television and movie writers are script writers. Like they follow a strict script, and so that's the difference between prose and comic book writers. So I write novels, and like Chris writes novels, and these guys do the hard work where they write scripts. So
I would probably agree with that. It's probably harder.
It is. I feel like because like you were saying, you want, like if I'm writing my prose, I can be like, I'm going to go change this and nobody's going to say anything. Right. Where you would like, again, you have a vision, you have this vision in your head when you're writing a comic, I think. And, you and the artist want this vision to be exact when you put it on the page. So yeah, I think it is harder. And I give tip my hat to all the time to comic writers, because I feel like you're probably more on a strict diet, so to speak, when it comes to writing. So my hat's off to you guys, for real.
Well, the best part for me, and the reason I still don't feel like I'm a writer, I guess, even though I am, is like I said, I wrote it very loosely. The general idea was there on every page. The general story is there throughout the whole book. But Mike was able to take that and draw it, and he did the lettering too. So he was able to like add a few things here and there throughout the book. So I even gave him like a co-writing credit, right? Because he did, like, he helped write the story and produce the story for what it is, as a finished product, right here. It's like, he was more important to me than I was, right? Because he got to draw it and bring that story to life and see it coming back every page, like, once a week or whatever. Just amazing being able to look at that on my phone and be like, wow, that was so cool. And we had a couple things we changed, like we made one person a boy or a girl instead of a boy, right? Because we needed another female in the book, and little things like that were just like super easy, or a word here and there. It's like, I don't really like that word. What about this word, right? Or this phrase. And so we would just work together. It's so collaborative. I wouldn't want it any other way. Like, I wouldn't want to do it all that myself. Like, I'd love to learn to draw and be able to draw, but then I would not have that collaborative thing with an artist. And that's been the most fun for me, is getting those pages back.
And that's like lightning strike. I mean, you find the right balance, you find the right team because I mean, I've heard horror stories
Oh yeah,
from
me too.
the just, and not even just indie, just even just general horror stories with the big productions, and um, I love that. And it's not that I could, it's not that I don't want to find that. I do have some plans down the road, um, but I think sometimes I'm that can scare you off too. Like
Right.
you're worried you won't get along with the artist, or you won't get along with the inker or something of that nature. However, all the steps it takes. So, um, but
That came full circle the other day. I realized it. He was so like Mike and I have become really close, and I can't wait to meet him. We're tabling together at Terrificon in
oh, very
August. I
nice.
can't wait for that to actually meet him and in person and hang out for a weekend. And we're actually are tabling right next to the Homebrew Comic Guy, so that's gonna be even kind of it's gonna be a crazy weekend. But
That's fantastic.
I am a math person, right? I'm not a writer. I became a writer, which is very weird already that I have my name on a book, which is my wife. She's a writer. She's a novelist. She writes novels. She wrote a bunch of them. But now it's like I don't read her stuff. I don't edit her stuff. I'm not good at that stuff. I don't look at it. Like I'll look at it here and there, but I don't read it. It's too long. It's too many words. Give me a comic book. I need pictures in my books.
Right.
But now Mike said, like, he's working on his own book right now, his next book, and it's amazing. He sent me the script, and now he's sending me the page, just like we was doing when I was, he was doing my book. He's sending me every page, and I'm like, I'm editing his book. Like, it's been so much fun. And I'm like sending him little like typos, and I'm like, hey, you gotta change this. He's like, dang it. And I'm like, dang it, this is crazy for me.
Right.
Like, I am not an editor.
Right. Like before I knew about podcasting or jumping on and getting on shows, I was, it's amazing. Like now I have Chris or Laurie or somebody looks over my stuff, and my wife's always like she's my very first and foremost editor, and she goes, that doesn't sound right. That doesn't sound right. So I listen to her, but I love that it does come full circle.
It does. It's crazy. Now, when you give it to your wife, I'm flipping the table. I'm the host.
Do it.
It's weird being in the seat, not being the host. I actually love it though, being on others. This has been so much fun. But when you give it to your wife for the first time, do you run and hide? Do you?
Oh yes,
okay,
yes,
me too.
Yes, my wife is Mexican, so I had the chanclas to come out after me if I do something.
Yeah.
But no, I do. She's always leave me alone for the most part. Leave me alone. Let me do it. Because I'll be that guy going, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? What do you think?
Oh no, see, I handed her, Annika and my wife the script to my book when I first wrote it, and I really went and hid. I was like, I don't want to know. Like, and then they came in like a few minutes, an hour, 50, 30, whatever it was.
Yeah.
A little while later, and they're like, this is actually pretty good. I'm like, no, whatever,
That's it is. I think because I'm right there with you, and I'm like, you're just saying that. You're just saying that because you're my wife. And she's like, no, it's really good. And then when you, like you said, you'll get your friends, that you jump in and like, no, that's really good. Then I start to feel like, okay, because I am that type of person where even if I let a friend read it, you're just being biased.
Right.
I need somebody that doesn't know me or somebody that will. So I'm always looking for people. Hey, you want to be an advanced reader? And then I get the crickets a lot of times, but
well, that's the cool thing about doing these shows and meeting all these people is now we have that community. Like Mike trusts me enough to send it to me to look at, right? Which is so cool. And I love it because it's an awesome story that I get to follow along as he's creating it. And I have people that I can send things to, like I sent it to Mike or TS or even Laurie, I'm sure would be more than happy to look at stuff, and there's just an awesome community that I think we're all building together.
Yeah.
That is only going to be good for everybody.
Yeah. I always say it has to be good because because we're in the indie community, whether it's indie authors, indie creators, indie artists, things like that. We are the backbone, and we have to support
each other.
Each other. I may not buy every comic, but I will do my best.
I wish I could. I wish I could, but I can't.
I will do my best to share it or talk about it on my show or get you, because when I do Dash of Reading, we talk about indie authors on there, or when we're doing Creators Corner, we're bringing indie authors and indie creators on there to do that. And I'm going to get you on one of these Sundays. If you ever have a moment, we'll bring you back on for that as well. So I don't have to be Laurie, I can be Dash. And
there you go.
But we have to be the backbone for each other. And I don't want people to feel intimidated, and I don't want people to be jealous because, I write horror westerns or supernatural westerns. That's a niche. That's a niche thing. Not everybody's going to be a supernatural western fan, but if 5 other people go, hey, I might know some supernatural western fans, that they introduce, and so that, I love that about our community. I think we need to be each other's backbone. And I wish I had known about your Kickstarter on this one. I would have definitely.
Oh no, I appreciate that, but
I would definitely. So do you have plans now, or is this a one-off, or what is our plans going forward with that?
So this is a one shot. Right. So it's a one shot. The coolest thing about doing the mascot is, and using that as like the main character, is it can be in any timeline, in any setting, in any world, in anything. Right. This just happened to be the one I started with. I don't know why I wrote this story. I'll tell you about the story because I guess we haven't talked about that yet. Yep. But so Panel Pete lives inside a comic book. Right. So there's a boy, Billy. He's being bullied in school. He's not having a great time. He don't have any friends. He goes to a comic shop after school one day. He's shifting through the dollar box. He picks up some comics, goes home, happens to be, of course, one of the comic books Panel Pete lives in. He kind of comes out of the book to scare the bullies and help Billy overcome being bullied. So there's a whole, it's a family-friendly, all ages, truly all ages comic book with a story and a message. And my favorite scene is the actual last panel where he's actually overcome and he's turning the comic book back in for somebody else to, get, which is really cool. So that was just a cool, fun little story. We've got some cool characters in it. Like I had no idea, like the lunch lady scenes in the book, like she's become a fan favorite of people. They love those Russian accented lunch lady. Way more.
Yeah, I agree with that, Jared.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the lunch lady's become, a fun character. We made stickers for the lunch lady, and now Mike's actually working on Tales of the Lunch Lady, like little mini stories, which is really cool because she's gonna be like a John Wick character at night, but she's a lunch lady in the day. So,
I'm sold. I'm already sold.
Right? I cannot wait until he finishes some of those, and I might have to write some too. That's something I want to work on next. Is some more little mini scenes and get Annika to do a few. I'll do a few. Mike will do a few. Whoever else, and we'll put an anthology of zines together. Yeah. That'd be really cool. But the other coolest part about the book to me is I was inspired by the community to write the book, right? To write a comic. I was jealous. I don't know if it was inspired. I was jealous. Okay.
Jealous is a good word. Yeah. Well,
you guys had stuff. They were coming on my show talking about all these cool things you were doing. Like I wanted to know what that felt like, right? Yeah. To work with an artist, to write, to go through the whole thing, just like starting the podcast. I learned by doing, right? And what better way to learn how to do it than to do it? So I did a comic book, and it was really cool going through the whole process. Took about 8 months from concept to finished product. But one of the other cool things, because I was inspired by the community, and part of the story is set inside a comic shop, right? So it's tied to the podcast a whole lot because there's, the shop's name's Talkin Comics Podcast. The owner of the shop's based off me, right? There's cool there's cool tie-ins to the podcast as well throughout the comic. But on the shelves, like what we had to decide, what are the books on the shelf inside the comic shop.
Right.
And it's like, what do you use for that? Like, we're gonna just rip off Marvel and DC? Like, there's a couple of those in there you can tell, like they're, facsimiles or whatever of different books. So one of the cool things I did is I started asking people that were on my show, hey, can I use your book on my show?
Right.
So throughout the whole book, there are like the books on the shelves are people's books that I've interviewed.
That is awesome.
So like even Stephanie Phillips let me use Grimm in the book, right? Which was so cool because that's her indie-owned comic, right? Her own work.
And it's advertisement. I mean, that is good advertisement.
So throughout the whole book, there's all these people that I've interviewed, their books are within my book, right? So I thought that was very cool. And then I, of course, in the front put everybody's name and everything, and where to get their book. So I thought that was a cool tie-in or homage to the indie community, right? To kind of give back to them and advertises their book too, right? So
that's perfect.
That was a cool thing.
Then you get more ideas of what another comic to come up with. Like, you're like, hey, there's...
Well, so that's a funny story, right? So now I'm like, all right, what's the next book? And part of we had a whole debate one day, me and the artist, not a debate. We were just trying to figure out, what is the cover of the book that Penelope lives in, right? So we were going back and forth like, well, what is it? We don't know. So it's actually, and he had this artwork from before, but it's like a little dragon, a wizard fighting a dragon.
Nice.
Is the book that he lives in, when he gets it out of the dollar box.
Sold.
Right. So like, that's cool. So now it's like, well, guess what? I have to now write that story.
You do.
Right. So now I'm working slowly on the script. It's been busy with the whole job thing happening and everything and getting the Kickstarter launched. And, so I'm working on the next one shot. So my idea, to answer your original question from like 28 minutes ago, was I want to do a series of one shots.
Very nice. Yeah.
So like do that origin story. It'll be a medieval type story where a wizard's like a student wizard trying to learn how to be a wizard, like accidentally screws up and creates Panel Pete in a spell book. That's the basic premise of the story at the moment. And then I want to do a Western because I love Westerns. I love, Dick Tracy. So there needs to be like a 5 and dime, like, dime
store
story,
novel.
Dime store novel type story. And, so I have plans. I love the experience. So we actually went one step further though. So everybody makes their comic, right? We all make our comic or our novels or whatever, but I actually made my comic.
Right.
To answer that, I have a friend that owns a print shop in Traverse City, Michigan. I drove to Traverse City, Michigan, my daughter and I, a couple months ago now. 2 months ago. And we got to spend the whole 3 days in the print shop.
Oh, nice.
And we spent a whole day just picking out paper, just touching paper and, this cardstock and text and this and that and light. It was like hundreds of sheets of paper. I have a stack this thick over here of just sample prints. Awesome. And we got to look at every one and all right, this is the paper. And we decided the paper. He ordered the paper. Next morning, paper shows up. We got to hit print on the printer. We got to watch it come out the end. We got to wheel it over to the machine that cut the paper, right? The stacks of paper and score the covers. And I got to feed almost all but the first 3.
Right.
I got to feed through the machine that actually saddle stitched it, folded it, and trimmed the edge. And Annika got to stand at the other end of that machine and pick it up and put it in a box. And we did that for hours one day, printing our own comic book. And so that was a really cool thing that we got to do. And I've recorded a bunch of the whole thing, and I'm trying to figure out how to put it all together as a little mini documentary of making a comic book. So that would be really cool. And I'm hoping to have time this summer to actually put that together.
See, you did. You literally made your comic book.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I would love to have that experience.
It was so cool. Now, it's a little. I don't think it was more pricey. We just picked too good a paper. We got a good deal. He gave us a good deal on it too. Right. But it's this thing is we got a thick cardstock, paper, and it feels and looks amazing, and so it's crazy, but we had so much fun going through that process. And being able to drive home with comic books in our hand. And didn't like that process of picking paper would have taken weeks or months if we were going through a printer we didn't know, picking the paper, or I would just be picking something randomly and not know how it turns out, right?
Yeah.
So it was so much fun going through that.
That is what I'm always, because I go through Amazon, so I use KDP.
Okay, yeah, 100%.
I'm always worried, like, is this gonna look good on what I chose? And so I get it, man.
They've done a good job. We use KDP too for the novels, but they've always been pretty.
They're pretty. I don't. That's why I still use them. I don't have those issues of what I'm worried about. But
see, funny enough, like back in 2009 when I went through this whole job loss thing before, she had started writing her novels then.
Right.
Like in 2006 and 2007. Well, I guess she had always been doing them, but we decided to finally actually publish one. And KDP wasn't around then, right? Like, so we were looking at, printing costs of books, and it was outrageous.
Yeah.
And I was like, being a machinist, I'm a hands-on, learn by doing again, right? Always been that way. I was like, we can print these ourselves.
Yeah.
So I ended up buying a couple printers, buying a binding machine and a cutter and all that stuff. And we actually printed and bound all these novels ourselves.
By your ISBN and put.
Yeah, I still have ISBN. I bought 1,000 of them in like 2010, right? And yeah, we bought our own ISBNs, printed, I'd actually go to like Staples to print the covers. Right. But we'd do all the interior printing at home and then cut it and bind it at this machine and, would bind them and then trim the edges, and they looked fine.
Yeah.
And then we'd go to shows and sell them. And then KDP came along, and, I was actually charging other people. I had this little publishing company, and that I turned into the game store.
Right.
But I was helping other people. One time I had like 20 authors, published over 50 books and, novels, and they never understood the marketing. They didn't have podcasts and social media in 2011 like they do today.
Yeah.
Dude, if I would have had all this then, I would have probably done really well. But now everybody's doing it, so it's hard to. We're all just a big soup.
Hard to jump. Yeah, it can get muddled sometimes. But yeah, just think. Yeah, I wish those things had been around, and because KDP's relatively new. Just us as a community hitting these podcasts and creating our stuff, and is relatively new. So
yeah, as long as you didn't do color, KDP was. The pricing's perfect.
Right.
Great. Man, you hit color though. Ooh.
Yeah, boy, tell me about about it.
And now they're doing, I haven't tried it, but they're doing hardcovers now. Have you tried the hardcover?
I do. Yeah, all of my books have been well, I do both. I do I do three. I will release the hardcover first, and the ebook first. I will release those on the same day. And then about a month later, I'll release the softback.
How are the hardcovers? We haven't tried it
yet. It's not too bad. Let me pull I got one right here. Make sure it's not the right one. It's right. Yeah. So it's not too bad. It's gonna be kind of. So you're.
Okay.
Like I just do that, but it's.
So it's a printed hardcover.
It's a printed hardcover. Okay. It's not horrible. A lot of your indie authors really like the soft or the paperback, right? Because it doesn't look as printed. Like it really looks like a real thing. But I like the hard. I'm a hardback guy. I was
doing hardcovers too, and I had a machine. I'd buy the blank hardcovers, and we'd do dust jackets, from Staples or whatever. I'd get those printed, but God, it was so much work. But I couldn't do printed hardcovers. That was one thing where that was way too expensive back then.
I don't make as much money I don't make as much with the with my my profits with the hardcovers, but to me it's just something about. But a lot, I sell more sometimes hardcovers. But a lot of people like the soft covers, so I do both. Like my mother-in-law, she wants the soft covers,
Yep.
and
We're
so
gonna have to do that. We're going to try do a run of some hardcovers. That was something we've been debating because she's very introverted, and so she doesn't do any of this kind of stuff.
right.
And I keep telling her, man, if she would do what I'm doing with my comic and podcast for her books, she'd probably sell a few, right? So we've been toying with possibly bringing her books to a show one
There you
time
go.
just
Yeah,
to see how they go.
do it.
And with the comic book too, and get her out there a little bit too.
Hello,
We'll
Nim.
see.
Hope you're feeling well, my friend. Um, uh, Take it easy and get some good rest. Had to,
For sure.
for sure. Um, yeah, I like that's what I'm doing. That's why this is my first con with my books. I want
Ooh.
to see where it goes. I
Heck
know it's
yeah.
at a toy con,
Hey,
but
I see, dude. I've been going to these comic shows and toy shows and stuff. They have, people have their novels out there.
Yep.
How many do you have?
I have two fiction novels on Amazon, and then I have one of my very first. I call it a pamphlet. It's a book, but it's more of a pamphlet. It was just a little nonfiction book that after I retired and obviously I'm retired military, dealing with some anxiety and PTSD issues and things like that. So
Mhm.
that was my love letter to myself, sort of. I know it's more of my memoir, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
But it's why I love Superman and other superheroes and how it got me through some of the. I love a lot of quotes. Like there's so many quotes you pull out of comic books or you pull out of the movies or things like, or just even the actors that have played them that have had quotes. And when I was dealing with a lot of, I was reading comics and reading and watching the movies, and just a lot of those quotes really hit me. And so I used that for myself. Plus, when I
Right.
was uh, doing personal training, I would throw a quote up there because people feel like they're scared to come in and do personal training. So you just throw a quote up there, like for just a prime example of with great power comes great responsibility. That's a fantastic quote, and to throw that up there, and you're like you work it into your workout. You're taking on a lot of responsibility here, not only for your health, but for your mental health. You're going to be
100%.
feeling better and things like that. So I try to use that, and it helped me. It really did. It really helped me get through a lot of painstaking issues that I was dealing with. And I still have anxiety. Don't get me wrong, but um, I just thought it was a good way to get some of my thoughts out there. So I wrote that, and then I have two. I have Hell Comes to Texas, which is my very first fiction novel. It's Western supernatural. I got a I went to college to get my degree in creative writing and
Ooh.
English, and Colt was just he wasn't even supposed to go as far as he did. I know I don't want to take too much of your time because it's all about you,
Oh
but
no, this is fine.
Colt was just a one-off exercise to create character. We just had to create our character just to build it in one of our classes, and he went from a one paragraph of character description to a first novel, and now the second novel is coming out in 2 weeks
Ooh,
of
all
Colt,
right.
and that it's amazing how far he's come, and he's like the staple now. He's like the staple. DC has Batman and Superman, Marvel has Spider-Man and Captain America. For me, Colt is my Superman and
Your
my Captain
staple.
America. Yeah, my
I love
staple.
that. He's your
And
mascot.
yeah, he is my mascot, and so it's just and yeah, Pops, good to see you, Nem, as well. Yeah, I think that's I think every, like, you have your mascot, and
Mhm.
Laurie has Jude St. Clair, and Nim has Space Monkeys, and Chris has uh his Slaughterville characters, and I just love that's we all have our anchor, and
Yep.
so yeah.
And it just, man, like Annika took it and wrote Panel Pete Goes to the Moon. It's hard to see on here because I had to ink it, but I scanned it and inked it on the computer. But she, Panel Pete Goes to the Moon, and it's all about, her, that was her story, 8-page story. It turned out fabulous. Now she wrote another one she's trying hard to get what is it? It's Pamela. It's not Pamela Pete. It's like Panel Pamela. That's what it is. Panel Pamela. She's trying to get a female companion for Panel Pete here. And so she's trying hard to work that in. So she wrote another one that's Pamela Goes to the Moon, or, and to rescue Panel Pete from the moon because he got stuck there. So it was really cool. But she's trying hard to get Pamela in there. And that's the cool thing because she's a girl. So she wants the girl.
Gotta have it.
That's been the cool thing, touched on a while ago, having Stephanie Phillips and Stephanie Williams on, and having her on those, being a part of that show to show her, that's one of the huge benefits of being able to do this with her, is to show her what you can be, inspiration for young girls. And you have 2 girls, so I'm sure you'd love that too.
Oh yeah, there you go. There's exactly, you're part of the community, right? Gary, that's exactly what we're talking about. You're the backbone. You may not be a creator, but you're known for Yeah, that is exactly what it's all about. That's what we love.
I love
if
that.
If it's not for people like Carrie who are sharing, talking about it, she contributes not only the spreading the word, but she contributes fan art.
Ooh, that's awesome.
She just did some stuff for Nem, who we just talked to Nem, who's had some surgery, but she got together and a lot of people were creating fan art for Nem and his space monkey. So that's what it takes. If we don't have people like you, Carrie, we don't have a community.
100%. I love fan art too. I've gotten 2, and it's been now 3, but it's been amazing. Like, just people randomly sending. So Colin Hawkins from Nuff Said Books, he's been a huge supporter of the show, and he writes his own comics. And he sent me. He knows I'm a huge Thor fan, so he sent me Panel Pete as Thor one day. I have it right here. I'll show you. Oh, actually, there's a sticker. So he sent me Panel Pete as Thor, and I was like, this is amazing. And it was all black and white. And I was like, go finish that. I'm going to pay you. You're making a cover. So one of the covers, I went crazy on covers and did 7 covers. But he did a homage to Journey into Mystery number 83, the first appearance of Thor, right? So he recreated that with Panel Pete. And I was like, that's freaking amazing. And I got to meet him. So I went to South Carolina Comic-Con a few weeks ago, and he lives in Illinois, but he was going to be there. And so I drove just to meet him and be able to, we exchanged comics. So it was so cool. So,
yeah, that's why, like I said, getting to meet George, I love George Medina. If you guys haven't met him or read any of his stuff, and meeting Laurie, it's just like you're meeting your heroes of the indie world, and to get there and sit there and pick their brains.
100%.
Not just on I can do that all day, like we're sitting here doing now, but to really sit down and see the real work, where they are pushing their how they talk to people at the cons and how they just talk to people in general. You learn a lot from them. So it's amazing. And just even now, I learned a lot from you today on where to take with my daughters and what to do. And you got to do that. These shows are important. I love doing fan art. Drew Constantine from Hellblazers, Space MC. That's fantastic. That's what we thrive on. And I hope to get there someday where people are doing fan art of Colt or doing fan art of.
Yeah, that is a weird feeling, man. I know I'm putting in the work. Not many podcasts make it, 100 episodes.
Oh, they don't.
It's like, but I don't feel like I'm that important or big or anything like that. It's just, but man, when you get fan art, you're like, I texted my best friend. I sent it to him. I'm like, dude, I got fan. He's like, you really got fan? I'm like, yeah, I got fan art. This is crazy. And it's happened like 2 or 3 times now. It's amazing.
You know you've made. I think you, and as long as you keep feeling the way you do, like you don't. That's me. As long as I don't feel like I'm important, and I'm above what I'm doing, then you're maintaining what you're supposed to do. I think if you do that, you're doing the job right. And I don't mean job, but
trying.
You're doing it right. I will, Carrie. I promise you, I will. I will get that on there, and I will send you a message.
There you go. You're getting fan art.
I see. There you go. I know you got to go here in just a moment. Laurie likes to do something called "Would You Hug This?" I don't have any of that, but we're going to do something that I like to do with my co-host Chris. We kind of do like rapid fire questions and things like that. So this is for you. If you've got Panel Pete, but if you could write for one company or create for one company, and you got to do your dream comic, what would it be?
Ooh, my favorite comic, and I think would be fun area to play in, would be the Deadly Tales of the Gunslinger Spawn. Not Gunslinger Spawn. I mean, Gunslinger Spawn's awesome, but they're doing the Deadly Tales, or like actual Western setting. That has been like the coolest thing. Like my dad was a huge Western fan, and I grew up watching Bonanza and Ponderosa and The Rifleman, and all those old Westerns. So they always hold a special place, right? Old Westerns. So Panel Pete will be in a Western at some point.
Very good. If you could write a TV show, who would you? It can be one that's already on, or you can create your own. What would you write for?
Man, a TV show. Man, I don't watch a whole lot of TV. What would I want to write or create for? Probably something Star Wars related. Keep that Star Wars universe going. Yep. I know a lot of it's not great, but a lot of it's not bad either.
Not a lot of it's bad.
So keeping that going. With some of the older stories, I'm really enjoying those. So yeah, probably something Star Wars related.
There you go. That's fantastic. All right. Last one. Movies or write movies or continue writing comic books?
See, I am so torn on that right now.
Yeah,
my head is really, yes, I'm writing my next comic, but I'm also really, really concentrating on this documentary. Or that's been taking a lot of headspace, right? How do I make this 30-minute documentary of creating a comic book, and using all that footage, using all that footage, and that, I'm going to do an interview process throughout it too, and editing. So it's like, it's still script writing. So is it really different? I don't know. So that's a hard one. I've been trying to lean in on the whole Kevin Smith motivation, just take a camera and do it. Right. So I listen to a lot of Gary Vee too. He's all motivational. So, I didn't have to quit my job, even though he told me to. They quit for me. So,
I know it.
But I get to use his motivation to keep going. So, but yeah, I would say, that's tough.
Yeah.
Can I say both?
You can say both. You can say both.
I'm going to go the middle. I think the documentary is a good middle ground. So let's do that. The documentary.
Yeah. I've thought, I've done. Chris is kind of doing Chris Brown, who's written Slaughterville and Jake Bishop. He's talking about doing some behind the scenes. I thought about I think if I do that though, I'm going to go more like a character, like put out the actual character Bible of my characters and do it through that way, where people like. And hire an artist, maybe not a comic book, but like an artist where they get to see who my characters are, their backstories a little bit. So I've thought about doing that, but I would love to do just a one movie about Hell Comes to Texas. If it never goes anywhere,
right?
I would just love to, because that was my second favorite class in when I was going through college. I had to do all the so I had 8 weeks of screenwriting, 8 weeks of just I went through all of these things, and I loved screenwriting.
Okay.
And so yes, Jared, PTSD is no joke. It's something I deal with every day. But yeah, I think even if it's a document, but I would love to just sit there because I want to see my vision. I can see it on when on my pages,
right?
But to
in
actually
Word,
see,
but to see that, like, start with a comic book, graphic novel, or something.
Yeah.
Like, there's a guy I've been interviewing. I've talked to him a couple times. I actually got to meet him as well. He was in South Carolina. Braxton Cosby. He does novels and comics, and like he'll do a novel and then a comic book that's like the next issue, right, or the next story, and then it'll go back to a novel, right? Like, it's kind of a cool way to do it. So that's something maybe you could work on. Maybe do a tie-in story, or like the Deadly Tales, like of the Gunslinger, do a backstory or something.
That's what's been running around in my head for real.
Or do a documentary or a movie. I'm really got my head wrapped around. I want it to be good, so I'm worried I'm not good enough to make it good, and that's what I'm scared of.
I think if you meet your vision, it's going to be good. I'm a firm believer in that. I feel like you only what you want to put in there, and it will be good, because obviously your comics. If you have people creating fan art, it's good because they're creating fan art for it. If we're sitting here talking about it, and doing these shows, and you already sold me just from from literally a cover and talking about Lunch Lady, I'm sold. So I don't think you have anything to worry about. And I would love, I guarantee
there's
you,
the Lunch Lady. There's the Lunch Lady sticker.
Love it. If you put out a documentary, I'm going to watch. I mean,
awesome.
Again, we've known each other now for going
hour and a half.
Hour and a half, and and just from the short 10 minutes we had behind the screens, I felt like we connected immediately because we have some things in common.
100%.
So, my last question for you before you go.
Okay.
When you do move to Oklahoma and you set up the game shop and the comic shop, you're going to let me come in.
That's not. I don't think I mentioned that, but you read my mind, because that's going to be my retirement plan. I'm going to have, my dream is to go out there to be with my family and have just a little small like comic shop with a studio. Right. My dream is like, what I envision is like the front windows, like the door in the middle. One side of the windows you see like the comic shop, the other is the studio. So you could actually stand out like they do on Good Morning America, right? And I have fans out there holding signs while I'm recording, right?
That's a good dream. That's a good dream.
So that's my dream, is to have like you can see the studio and then see the shop and have my office off the back of the studio and live above it. That's my dream. That's what I want to do.
See, so Oklahoma City and all those, they have lots of great comics. But up here where I'm at, I have to travel, man. I think 45 minutes to get to a good comic shop that I actually enjoy going to. We finally got a toy store that's real close to me now, but I used to, again, another 45 minutes to an hour to get to good toy stores, and I'm talking vintage and things like that. So that's my wish is if I could, because and the wife and I have talked about this up here in Guthrie, is to, I have, as you can see, I have tons of action.
Oh no, I've been Googling over it.
Yeah, I would love to open. This is I would love to open a museum.
Oh yeah,
but also have a toy store, but also have like almost a combination, comics, toys.
Yeah.
But I want it to be a museum. So
I would feature nothing but indie comics, so I'll make no money, but I'll have, a rack of the mainstream weekly comics, but like my dream is to like make little tags and like have Laurie's book on the shelf, right? And be like, as seen on Talkin Comics episode, whatever she was on, I can't remember, 61 or whatever, like as seen on, that's my dreams. Have just a whole indie wall and not make, the content what hopefully one day will pay for all of this, and it can continue to pay for it and do the fun stuff in the shop. So what was your question? Was that the question? What I plan to do? Okay.
Yeah. What are you planning? But I mean, will you let me come in the store and hang out?
Yeah. Yeah, of course. You could be on an episode, have a seat on the couch, and
nice.
Be on a we'll record, stupid shows, and
There you go.
whenever, just hit record or go live. That's
go
what I need
live
to
and
work on, is going
yeah.
live like this. I don't do much of that, especially with Annika. That's
Yeah,
one thing, going
that's
back to
yeah.
the original questions, right?
Yeah.
Is that's something I have not done. I don't know that I'm ready to put Annika on a live.
Right.
We did one when we released the Kickstarter. We launched the Kickstarter. We did a live and one person watched, so it was fine. But as we grow, I don't know how I'm going to handle that yet. So
I think like where you're going, I think if I do one with the girls, it'll just be for like Spotify and or things like that where nobody sees, but they can still talk and still.
Yeah,
that I agree with you 100%. I want to answer this Carrie thing. Yes, and that's exactly what we're talking about with the podcast and the live shows. If we don't have the Carrie, this is an excellent point. If we don't have madness, if we don't have Talking Comics Podcast, if we don't have any of these, it's hard for us to get seen. So yes, we owe Pops a great gratitude for setting up the madness. We thank AJ for putting Talking Comics Podcast together to where, it's always great to get I think it's always great to hear different views on everything, and I'm going to get you on Creators Corner where we'll actually sit down and talk about more behind the scenes of what you think is what you like to talk about with the comics and what topics you hit. And I wish I would have done, Laurie, forgive me for not hitting that, but
I hope we lived up to Laurie's, standards. Hopefully we didn't, like, she's not sitting there with two phones, one watching this show, one trying to record her event.
Right. Like, I hope you're not cringing too much on us.
I hope not. I hope we did good.
Absolutely. And AJ, such a pleasure to meet you.
This was awesome. I hate that Laurie's not here, but at the same time, like, if this happened, right? Like, that's the cool thing about doing what we're doing, is think moments like these I get so crazy about, like, this community's so good. And then I meet somebody, I'll have somebody on that has not had a good experience in the community. And it's like, well, who are you I'll turn the recording off and be like, who are you hanging out with? Like, you need to start following this person. Like, I have had nothing but great. Everybody's been super welcoming, super great to us, and we're our own thing. Like, I'm not going to be your guy that's like, hey, I read this comic, this is what I thought. And like, we do a little bit, but like, that's not us. We just come on, have fun, give people a voice. That's all I want to do. I can't wait. I know I'm not that big. We're not that big. We're getting, we're slowly growing, but I can't wait till somebody can come on my podcast and it makes a meaningful difference for their lives. Right.
Yeah.
That's, I can't wait for that. That's what I want. That's my goal, is to be able to help the community, help people get seen, give them a voice. And thank you so much for hanging out. I can't wait till hang out again. And I'll have to sign up for another one 8 months from now with Laurie, so I can actually be on with her.
Yeah.
And
well, you're like I said, come on Creators Corner anytime.
Yeah.
I'm not booked like you guys are, but Chris and I do Creators Corner. It's a place for a lot of us to we talk creative things, and it's just a good place to, and it's freewheeling. I should change the name to Mini Tangents, because we get on
that's what happens.
Yeah, we get on a creative kick and we just start talking creative stuff. And I mean, just sitting here talking to you today, I'm like, oh, that sounds really good. So that's what I love about this community, the way we can create and new ideas pop in our head, and things like that. But appreciate.
I got to reach out to Pops too. He messaged me the last show was on. I need to reach out to him. So
do it. And
we'll get down there. And I'm thinking about toying with another podcast idea for my media company. So creator type thing. Yeah, I need to DoorDash. Make my car payment.
So we'll have you back on. And I know Laurie will have you on again, and I appreciate you, my friend. And Laurie,
this was great. Thank you,
Laurie. Thanks for the wonderful opportunity to host your show. I hope we lived up to it, and we will see you guys soon. Go ahead and if you need to leave, go on. I'm just going to throw out some ads, and we'll get out of here.
Thanks so much, man. It was
All
great
right.
being here. I had a lot
Thanks,
of fun.
AJ.
Have a great one.
All right. See you, AJ. All right. And I got some couple of announcements for you guys. We got this awesome ad coming up, so stay tuned and let's check it out.
Hey heroes, cosplayers, and pop culture fans, are you ready to assemble for the ultimate geek weekend? The Hall of Heroes Comic-Con is invading Elkhart, Indiana with 2 explosive days of comics, stars, and non-stop fun. Join us Saturday, May 30th and Sunday, May 31st, 2026 at the Northern Indiana Event Center in Elkhart. Doors open at 10 a.m. both days. VIP early entry at 9:30 a.m. on Saturday. We're rolling out a massive lineup of legends. Meet Eric Estrada from Chips and Fallout, Dirk Benedict from the A-Team and Battlestar Galactica, Tara Reid from American Pie and Sharknado, Catherine Cavadini, voice of Blossom from the Powerpuff Girls, Kel Mitchell from All That, Kevin and Kel and Mystery Men, horror icon Tony Moran, the original Michael Myers in Halloween, and more. Plus, top comic artists including Arthur Sidem, Marvel Zombies and Deadpool, John Kramer from Batman and Wonder Woman, Keith Pollard, a legendary Marvel artist on Spider-Man and Thor, and more. Scott Rosema, Stuart Sager, and others. Get autographs, photo ops, and chats with the stars and creators who shaped your favorites. The floor is packed with over 150 vendors, artists, and cosplayers offering exclusive comics, collectibles, original art, and merch. Enjoy cosplay contests for kids and adults with great prizes, live Q&A panels, artist showcases, interactive zones, and family-friendly fun all weekend. And the excitement goes live. Madness Entertainment Group is broadcasting straight from the con floor all weekend on YouTube, Build, and Rumble. Catch every moment as it happens, then relive it anytime with the full shows available later on Med TV on Roku. Grab your tickets today at hohcomiccon.org. Hall of Heroes Comic-Con, May 30th and 31st, 2026. Northern Indiana Event Center, Elkhart, Indiana. We'll see you there, heroes. This ad was created by Nem on behalf of Madness Entertainment Group and Hall of Heroes Comic-Con.
There you go. Hall of Heroes Comic-Con coming soon. Thank you, Nem, for putting together such a fantastic ad. We love you, Nem. And again, he's one of the ones that we couldn't do this without. Thank you guys for accepting me on Laurie's channel today, her show. It was an honor. Truly, it was an honor to be on the show, get to talk to AJ and see some of Laurie's normal viewers. And thank you for, if you liked it, thank you for accepting me. I appreciate it so much. She will be back normal time next Tuesday. I do not know who her guest is next week. I'm sure she will put out some advertisements on that. But make sure you check out Path of the Pale Rider. It's in the comments section. And she's got the graphic one coming. She's got other stuff working. Also, like I said at the beginning of the show, make sure you check out Laurie, George, Medina, Chris Brown, myself, Ed Davis, Nate. We're doing a short story collection, an anthology, if you will, called Fade to Black. It's where we take a song title and create it into a short story. It can't have anything to do with the lyrics of the song, but we interpret what the title of the song means. We write a short story about it. You can see advertisements on their page, on my page about it. It's coming soon. Make sure you check that out. Appreciate it. And again, thank you guys so much for tuning in to the Morning Brew. I'm Dash. You can check me out on First Impressions on Wednesday nights with Ed Davis, where we talk about albums. And Dash are reading every Sunday on The Madness on all of your favorite channels, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, X, you name it. We're on there. Check us out. We don't have any First Impressions this week, but Ed and I will be back next week with Hum, an indie band. So we'll be talking about them. Until then, my words of wisdom are just keep creating. Go out there. If you're a creator, keep creating. If you love what you're doing, keep doing it. And until then, Laurie will be back next Tuesday with the Morning Brew, and we will see you soon. And thank you for coming.